Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Let me give special shouts out to Sir Marshall. Thank you so much for being generous. I'm about to answer the email from work. Inshallah. I probably will have answered it by the time you hear this upload. Shouts out to Mr. Radzekpo for joining the first class section of Jet Black Airways. For my subscriber through the Passport Bro app, whose name is Passport Bros. Also for subscribing. And to Chris M for being extra generous in his subscription to the first class section of Jet Black Airways. It's only $10 a month, whether you subscribe to the Passport Bros app or you subscribe through Buy Me a Coffee. It's only $10 a month, and I put the same material on them both. However, what I generally do is I put it up as audio on Buy Me a Coffee. And on the Passport Bros app, I put up as video because you can't just put up an audio. So in any case, moving along. When the Passport Bros picked up a high profile for leaving to find better lives and wives, not just cavorting around with different women, but to find better lives and wives. Let me remind y'all about something in particular. The women's retorts, these unbothered women, by the way, they're so unbothered. They give a negative F about us doing this, right? But, these women's retorts were inconsistent because they were saying we were the guys they don't want anyway. These guys generally do fit non-stereotypical profiles. And then even then, they're not complete failures with women all the time. These men have varying levels of success with women. And to be honest with you, most men don't succeed with most women. And it's even worse in the West. So these ladies never factored any of this in when these hyenas never factored any of this in, which they know is the case because they agreed to this. It's collective, but it's part of the code, but they never factored any of this in when they would sit up and laugh and cackle at the men that left. And men who can bit gitches also got tired of the gitches they could bit. They got sick of it because you have these ladies running a collective racket to lower the quality and demand higher quality in exchange. Lower the quality output. So, in other words, don't show up for these dates without tattoos and bad manners and stank breath and funky lace front weaves and a bunch of greed and attitude and other men's kids. If you don't have these things, you should not be out there competing because you will pick me. So wait a minute, you mean to tell me you show up as you are without other men's kids and tattoos and all these things to drive the men away? Oh, see, you up here cheating. Girl, you'll pick me. That's what these women are saying because it's a racket. Understand that. So they know how they're driving men away. But I wanted to point something out to you. The way we know how they view men now, we understand their views of men. The only new information is how deep the rabbit hole goes, how bad it gets, but we know how they view us. And what I'm going to say to you is this. You're going to hear a spray can because I'm getting ready for work. Don't be alarmed. These chicks have a view of men in general. And these sisters, if you will, gave up the moral superiority that they had over Miss Ann previously. Sophista Ratchet Sapphire was not as bad as Miss Ann all along historically. I mean, and they were worse than we knew they were. They were worse than we thought. But, Miss Ann historically held the monopoly on really being bad because the lies they would tell and, You know, the way they would weaponize white women's tears. And it's to the point where, and we all know about this, a comedian even joked about it and said that if he could come back to life reincarnated, he'd come back as a white chick because a white chick can cry and run up to the cop and say, "Officer, the suspect is black," and the cop would stop her and say, "Shh, don't say anything else. I know the story. He murdered you. We're going to get him for what he did to you." He said that he would actually like to see someone aim a weapon at a white woman and pull the trigger, not because he likes to see people get hurt, but because he doesn't believe that physics would allow the bullet to come and hurt her. This is the comedy routine that this man said. I forgot the man's name. You always do. It's the only time I've seen this particular comedian. And he was cracking this white audience up. But the thing is that the moral superiority that Sapphire had over Miss Ann is now relinquished because when Passport Bros, which by extension means BMPTs of various endorsements and stripes, including my own, SYSBM, began to leave the matrix for better lives and better wives, we already know what Sapphire had to say. Sapphire didn't just diminutize us. Sapphire diminutized the women, especially in Southeast Asia primarily. She diminutized Black Latina women and Southeast Asian women. She diminutized them, talked down about them, pretty much said that they were pathetic for not treating us as badly as the Western hyena Sapphire has treated us. Because they would treat us better, there was something wrong with them. That's real. That's how she has responded. Bruh, the way that they view us as, you know, the normal brother being pathetic, weak, undeserving, that view that they have of us, allow me to point out, they view as an immutable fact of nature. That most of us are deserving of bad treatment. Most of us are deserving of being regarded as inferiors. Most of us are deserving of no better a deal than being allowed to be stepdads. Actually, having to be stepdads in order to maybe have some kids of our own from her used womb. That is how many of them have viewed us. So they went so far as to diss a group of women that were not their enemies, that had not treated them the way that Miss Ann treated them. That's how far they went. Stop and think about how bad a thing it was for them to do this to women from Laos, Cambodia, Southern Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, who did not have an issue with sisters, did not mistreat sisters historically at any point, did not do any of these things, did nothing to sisters that Becky did. And she dissed these women who were the most likely to imitate Sapphire if they moved over to the States, the most likely to understand Sapphire if they moved over to the States, and care and sympathize with Sapphire if they moved to the States, or even other parts of the Anglophone Americas. The most friendly and the most welcoming to sisters on the Asian continent. Sapphire dissed them for not being hard enough on you. Did I not tell you that their hatred of us exceeds their love for themselves? That's why I said that. I'd like to be wrong, but the reason that I said that is that. Additionally, allow me to point out to you that um, they think that their way of viewing us as men is an immutable fact of nature, not to be argued with. It is a law of God that we're just beneath and we're just less than, and it must be that way. That is their view of us, and that is how staunch their view of us is. So they see these tropical women of varying complexions and varying hair textures treating us better, treating us even decently, as blasphemy against nature and against God. That is why they've acted this way. What that tells you is that they see your inferiority, your undeservingness, so to speak, your low rank as God's own opinion of you. And if an opinion is God's opinion, then that makes it a fact. So what they're saying is that is God's own reality of you. And if any woman dares to treat you better, then that woman is blasphemed. And that is why it is that sisters are so outraged. I'm not even calling them sisters of us. Remember, I say they're sisters in regards to each other. But they are outraged, even when they are not consciously outraged, then they're still subconsciously outraged that somebody would come along and treat you like you mean something, like you're worth something. Oh, that bothers them, that burns them up. How dare somebody come along and do that? And that's what I wanted you to understand. That's what I wanted you to realize. These women ain't playing with you. They're not motivated by just their own interests. It's not just that they want to be able to keep a man. It's not just that. That's not all there is to it. There is also that they want you to be without. And we, as all stripes of BMPT, we as men in general are not sitting up here and acting like, well, women are not an important part of life. Women don't matter. We don't dare say things like that because that's not our view. What I need to point out to you is that women are naturally an important part of life. They're supposed to be. The issue at hand is that the ones that are from our own community, the ones that are our mirror image, biogenetically speaking, have decided that because of the importance God gave them, they're going to withdraw it and just damage their own importance even by insisting upon being not only useless, but hell, even detriments and liabilities. Refusing to be assets and even insisting upon being the opposite. Cutting off even their own nose to spite their face. So don't assume for a second that this is about something that they get out of this. They're not doing what they do because of what they get out of it. They're doing what they do because of what you won't. Remember that. And we, in spite of all of this, now are the only ones left with a moral superiority because we refuse to make enemies out of people that are not enemies, except some of us who want to make enemies out of Africans. And then we're going to have to check that. We can disagree with him if we know we're right and they're wrong about something, and they can disagree with us in return. But we're going to have to check that. Some of us are like, look, man, so we start gangbanging on it, taking them as enemies when they're not. But we're not generally doing this across the board. There's just one thing, though, that I've talked about this before, and I don't hear this repeated enough by others. The misandrous feminist hyenas are working to spread their misandry and their feminism. As much as they will call these women dusty foot, uneducated, and poor, when they meet them face to face, they then begin to proselytize their feminism and their misandry. We are not working enough with the men of these countries to inoculate them against the same feminism and misandry, and let them know how to stop these things from coming into their homes through their sisters, wives, daughters, mothers. We're leaving them subject to the threat. And I want that to stop. I want us to start to cooperate with them, because that would be better for all of us. I don't know when we're going to get around to that. But if we simply think that we're already, if we think that they're going to give up, then one day they will win. We do not want to be like the rabbit in the race against the tortoise and the hare. The rabbit didn't lose that race because he was slow. He lost that race because he fell asleep. Because he dilly-dallied, did other things, got distracted, pretty much figured, of course I'm going to beat this turtle. Forgot the turtle was even there. Forgot he was in a race. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. Thank you for listening. And as always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.